Hello and welcome to another Magic Duels gameplay. Today we're taking a look at a Mardu colored control deck with a lot of removal, a lot of sweepers, and even a pretty powerful late game thanks to the recursion of Emeria Shepherd. 7 mana for a 4/4 flyer with landfall. Whenever we play a land, we get to return a non-land permanent from our graveyard to our hand or to the battlefield if the land we played was a plains. So of course we have a decent amount of plains in the deck, as well as having Evolving Wilds to synergize with landfall. So some of the design decisions in the deck were made with Emeria Shepherd in mind. So let's get started here with our 2-drops, since we don't have any 1-drops in the deck. We have 2 copies of Felidar Cub, 2 mana for a 2/2 creature, but the important part here is that we can sacrifice the cub to destroy an enchantment, because there's a lot of valuable enchantments running around lately. So Felidar Cub we can also return with Emeria Shepherd from the graveyard to our hand or to the battlefield to maybe deal with a second enchantment. Then we have 2 copies of a Reprisal as a cheap and efficient removal spell that can deal with larger creatures, and even against some of the aggressive decks where you would not expect them to have large creatures, they usually play enchantments that they put on their creatures, so Reprisal can also give you a nice 2-for-1 there. Then we have 4 copies of Twin Bolt, which is great against the aggressive decks, and even against the other decks there's usually a lot of tokens being generated, and Twin Bolt is pretty great against tokens since you can kill 2 of them at once, as you can divide 2 damage across 2 targets. Then we have 3 copies of Pilgrim's Eye, which is great in this deck since he provides much needed mana fixing, since we are a 3-color deck, and also makes sure that we keep hitting our land drops, which is important. And then also great synergy with Emeria Shepherd, since when the Pilgrim's Eye gets returned, he searches up another land, which will then enable the landfall for the following turn. Then we have 3 copies of Fleshbag Marauder, which forces each player to sacrifice a creature when he enters a battlefield. So again, a great synergy with the Shepherd, since it's a non-land permanent we can return. And also great synergy with one of the cards we'll get to in a bit. And of course we can also just sacrifice our Pilgrim's Eye if we happen to play that earlier. Then we have 2 copies of Read the Bones for some card advantage and card selection. We have 2 copies of Radiant Flames that can deal up to 3 damage to each creature as a cheap sweeper. We have 1 copy of Courrier Griffin, which may seem like a weird inclusion. It's not a card that sees a lot of play. It's a 4 mana 2/3 flyer that gains us 2 life when he enters a battlefield, because I was looking for a card that could gain us some life back, because we have a lot of cards in the deck that lose us some life, like Read the Bones for example. So having a non-land permanent that gains us life when entering the battlefield is pretty nice with the Emeria Shepherd, and of course looks pretty majestic, so could not include him. Then we have 2 copies of Pia and Kiran, which are great in the deck. They make 2 Thopter tokens when they enter battlefield, and then we can sacrifice an artifact by paying 3 mana, and then they can deal 2 damage to target creature or player, so we can even sacrifice our Pilgrim's Eye for example. And also great synergy again with the Emeria Shepherd, since they have a nice enter the battlefield ability. Then maybe we can sacrifice them or trade them and then get them back to keep making more and more Thopter tokens. Then 2 more sweepers in Languish. Our first Planeswalker in Gideon, ally of Zendikar, can become a creature to deal lots of damage, can make Knight tokens, or maybe can even make an emblem right away. Also nice synergy with the Shepherd, since we can play him, make an emblem, he will end up in our graveyard, and then we can play a plains, return Gideon to the battlefield, so he can maybe make a second emblem right away, or can stick around to make some tokens. Then we have 2 copies of Cruel Revival, which is another nice unconditional removal spell most of the time, and can also return a zombie from our graveyard to our hand, and you know it, Fleshbag Marauder is a zombie, so we can play the Fleshbag, make the opponent sacrifice a creature, and then later get the Fleshbag back for more value. Then we have the 2 final sweepers in Planar Outburst, destroys all non-land creatures, and we can also awaken it late in the game. Then finally, our two final removal spells are Angelic Edict, that can exile a creature or enchantment, so even more enchantment removal, and also exiling is important against cards like Ulamog. Then we have one copy of Ob Nixilis, which I guess is the final removal spell in the deck. Can also draw us cards at the cost of some life, so here we can see that having that life gain in the deck can be useful, and also can ultimate to win the game. And then we have Kothophed, Soul Hoarder, 6 mana for a 6/6 flyer, that can also draw us extra cards at the cost of a life whenever an opponent loses a permanent. So yet another reason to include some life gain in the deck, because this can actually end up killing you. So maybe sometimes you have to kill your own Kothophed when you start drawing too many cards. Then one copy of Oblivion Sower, just for some value, 5/8 for 6 mana. No enter battlefield ability, so no real synergy with the Shepherd, but can still ramp us into the Shepherd. And then finally the 2 copies of the Shepherd, of course, very important in the deck. Then we have 5 copies of Plains, 2 Swamps, 4 Mountains. Another very important part of the deck is a Shambling Vent, as he can also gain us some life back. Then 2 Smoldering Marsh, 2 Clifftop Retreat, 2 Isolated Chapel, 2 Dragonskull Summit, and then finally 4 copies of Evolving Wilds, again great with the Shepherd. So that's the deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, let's take a look at our opener. On the play, only 2 lands, but we do have a Read the Bones. Yeah, let's keep it. Evolving Wild's probably gonna get a red source, but I think we can wait to see what we draw. That can inform our decision a bit better. Don't have any 2-drops we really need to play on turn 2 here. And alright, sweet. So we can play this tapped, get a red source, and cast Read the Bones to find more lands, and we'll be fine. Right, against blue-red, could be Thopters. Well, that sucks. So wanted to activate Evolving Wilds, could not pass a game. So did not end up fetching our mountain. Thopter Engineer. Let's make sure to get our land now. So we are up against the blue-red Thopters deck. Down to 19 we go. So Griffin actually pretty nice here against the Thopters. If we can find a land, we do. Since that encourages our opponent to play more stuff into it. And then we can just Radiant Flames for 2 if we find another red source to clear all the Thopters, or just for 3 to clear the board. And next turn probably gonna cast Read the Bones if we don't cast Radiant Flames. Definitely wanna try and get as much value out of our sweepers as possible. Pilgrim's Eye's fine. Don't wanna use Radiant Flames quite yet. Opponent probably does not attack into this. Alright, never mind. Think, let's see. Is there a reason to kill this one over this one? Can't really think of any in blue-red. But let's kill this anyways. Land, Fiery Impulse, alright, that's fine. And yeah, let's cast Read the Bones, try and find land. Alright, Languish I guess I'll take. and keep Reprisal on the bottom. Did not find a land, but this Languish should buy us enough time regardless. And Twin Bolt is not bad either. So next turn we can just Radiant Flames. A turn later we can perhaps Languish. Still have Twin Bolt, so yeah, still looking pretty good here. So get hit for 4, down to 13. But now we get to Radiant Flames. And I guess we do Radiant Flames instead of Languish, even though Languish is more mana efficient, because our opponent could have some 4 toughness creatures we didn't expect. Let's say they play 2 Chief of the Foundry, then we want to have the Languish available. So we're gonna get hit for 1 from this Thopter, down to 12. And anything else? Nope. Alright, land is nice, so now we can do all sorts of things. I think just playing Pia Kiran is actually fine. Other option is playing Ob Nixilis, maybe using the minus ability on the Engineer, make our opponents use a burn spell or play more creatures to try and kill Ob Nixilis, and then we can sweep the board, and then we can play Pia Kiran. Yeah, I like that. So kill the Engineer, which provides haste to all artifacts. Does our opponent have Twin Bolt? That's fine. That means 2 less damage we take, and I think we got the late game covered here with the Shepherd and Pia Kiran. Don't really need to draw cards with Ob Nixilis to win this game. So get hit for 1. No play from the opponents. So now we get to play Pia and Kiran, I believe, plus Evolving Wilds. So we already have double white, double red and double black. So I think I want to leave the most amount of planes in the deck to go with the Shepherd. So probably gonna get either a red source or a black source. Probably red, since we... well, no. Maybe we do go for the swamp here. Thief is an interesting play here. Opponent does not attack with the Thopter because they could draw into a chief to make the Thopter have +1/+1. Let's grab... yeah, I think Mountain is more important. If we draw Pia Kiran, we can go Twin Bolt plus Pia Kiran in the same turn. Oblivion Sower, also nice. Does a good job of blocking the Jessian Thief. I'll take all your lands. So this got exiled. And I'm just gonna stay on defense here. No need to attack quite yet. Opponent on 2 cards in hand. And one of them is a Hedron Network. Alright, that's pretty nice. Enables Prowess, gets rid of our Oblivion Sower. Which I think is the... well, no, we have Oblivion Sower and we also have Kothophed that would die to the Hedron Network. I will chump here, just to prevent our opponent drawing a card. And land would be nice, instead it's a cub. Only destroys enchantments, not artifacts. So we could play the Shepherd, but I kind of want to play the Shepherd when we can also play a land right away. We could pull the trigger on this Languish. Opponent only has 1 card left, we still have Planar Outburst. Could have also blocked the Thief plus Twin Bolt. But then if they kill the Thopter before attacking with a burn spell, then we can no longer block, and that doesn't work. So yeah, let's get in for 1 and then cast Languish. And that'll still keep up Twin Bolt. Opponent takes it. Cast Languish. I guess we can also just play out our Felidar Cub. And pass. So let's see. Yeah, we can get the Pia Kiran back, or Ob Nixilis if we find a land. There we go. Play the Shepherd. Play the land, get back. I think Pia Kiran is gonna be pretty nice. The Griffin is also gonna be pretty good, since we are at 11. And Twin Bolt is gonna kill the Cub, which is fine. Perilous Mirror. Alright, sweet. So we can get another card back. Let's play it safe and get back the Griffin. Attack for 4. And then play out our hand. No need to play around any sweepers. Alright, and that should pretty much do it. Next turn we get to attack for 10 damage. Right, I'll take 1. Don't really want to lose Pia Kiran. Opponent has nothing, so we can attack with everyone. Use 2 activations plus Twin Bolt, and that should be enough. Alright, sweet. Managed to survive the Thopter menace, despite getting stuck on a couple lands in the beginning. But yeah, sweepers tend to be pretty good against the Thopter deck. So let's move on to the next one. Alright, let's take a look here at our opener, which features the Pia Kiran and all our sweepers. So I guess I'll keep. So this is probably gonna get a black source. But we also want to have double red for Pia Kiran here. So I think it's okay to just wait on the Evolving Wilds, since we don't have a 2-drop lined up. So just waiting a turn to see what we draw will inform our decision with the Evolving Wilds a little better. Alright, so we drew our black source. So now we can grab a second red source with the Evolving Wilds end of turn. Hope we don't get Acid Mossed as usual. So let's go ahead and grab a mountain. At least we will be able to play Pia Kiran before we get Acid Mossed. Alright, Evolving Wilds means we can grab another black source, I guess. And no play from the opponents. That's good to know. Alright, so Pilgrim's Eye, always a welcome sight. Let's see if the opponent has a Twin Bolt here for our tokens. Just a Fiery Impulse for Pia Kiran. That's fine. Untaps, and is it gonna be Acid Moss? Yep, getting rid of our Shambling Vent. At least we have a Pilgrim's Eye to find us another land. But this current deck is not the greatest against the Acid Moss decks, to be honest. At least if it gets Acid Mossed in the early turns. Because we do have answers to cards like Ulamog in Angelic Edict and Fleshbag Marauder. But if you don't get to play your lands to cast your answers, of course, that's pretty useless. So we do have all our colors fixed here, but a second Acid Moss would be pretty bad. So 6 mana, opponent could cast all sorts of things. It's gonna be an Oran Reef Hydra. And currently the only sweeper that answers the Hydra is our Planar Outburst. So I think I'll hit for 3 here. We could play the Outburst to just get rid of this. What we could also do is wait a turn, hope our opponent plays out another creature, but I think it's pretty likely our opponent could play a ramp spell next turn, like Nissa's Renewal, to get some more counters on the Hydra, which would mean they don't play a second creature, so waiting is gonna be bad. Also, if they Acid Moss one of our white sources, we can't Planar Outburst anymore, so I think we'll just play it safe here. Get rid of the Hydra, and next turn we could play Kothophed. So let's see how that's gonna work out. And there's a renewal, so glad we cast the Outburst when we did it. Opponent gained some life. And now we're just gonna play out Kothophed. And hope to start drawing some cards here. Opponent could Rolling Thunder the Kothophed and kill it. Instead it's gonna be a Nissa, which we can just kill with 1 attack if our opponent transforms it. So that's not too bad if they don't kill Kothophed. They do indeed transform Nissa. And do they plus or do they make a token? Either one of them is fine. They do make a token. So now we could attack Nissa. Our opponent has a Chandra's Ignition, interesting. So they must also have something like a Twin Bolt, alright. That's a pretty complicated way to do it, but that's gonna work. So Ignition dealt 4 with the token, and then our opponent was able to finish off Kothophed, which is unfortunate here. So I think we Languish away the token and then pass a turn. I was looking forward to drawing some cards, but was not meant to be. So now hopefully we find an answer for the Nissa in time. Opponent also with an Omnath. They're gonna plus Nissa. Do they reveal a land? Nope. Naturalists. So we could still answer the Omnath with Cruel Revival, but now our opponent gets a token out of the deal. And Twin Bolt, alright. So we can Cruel Revival Omnath. And we can Twin Bolt Nissa. But we're still gonna get hit for 5. So we do need to find some more cards. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have Ulamog, because then we're just dead. So we're gonna go down to 8. Could have also chosen to kill the Elemental by waiting and trying to Radiant Flames plus Twin Bolt the token, but I think getting rid of Nissa is gonna be important. Opponent fights from beyond. And yeah, that's pretty much gonna be game, because next turn we'll be facing an Ulamog at 3 life. And Radiant Flames is not gonna do anything here. So yeah, the ramp matchup is pretty difficult. So that's gonna be the case for most decks that aren't built specifically to beat it. But as soon as you build a mid-range or control deck, you're gonna have a hard time beating the ramp decks. So down to 3 we go, and let's see if our opponent plays Ulamog or is patient. They do cast him. So let's see, do we still have an out? So Fleshbag can answer Ulamog, but then we also need to get rid of the elemental token, so we would need to draw into one of those answers first. So yeah, no, it's not gonna happen. If we had more mana, we could maybe read the bones into a Reprisal plus Fleshbag, so we could Reprisal plus Fleshbag. But it was not meant to be this game, so we'll take 15 and we will move on to the next game. Okay, let's take a look at our opener. And this one I think I'll ship, since we don't have any red for Pia Kiran. Again, no red mana, only 2 lands. We are on the play, but still I think we have to try another one. Alright, at least we have a plan here. We have Fleshbag plus Crew Revival, so we have a way to at least deal with some creatures if we draw lands, but it's gonna be difficult here on a mulligan to 5. Alright, so if we draw a 3rd land, our opponent commits a lot of creatures to the board, then Radiant Flames could be pretty good. Elvish Visionary, alright, so we have a chance here. If our opponent is playing black-green elves, then Radiant Flames could be great. If our opponent is playing some sort of ramp deck, then we are pretty much in trouble. Instead, Alchemist's Vial, alright, did not expect that. So not sure what our opponent is up to. Could be maybe Sultai Sphinx's Tutelage. So we get hit for 1, down to 19, and no 3rd land from the opponent. Alright, so they kept 2 lands on 7 and got punished. Now they have to discard. Alright, discard part of Water Veil. So let's just play the Cub, pass. Now we can block the Visionary. So yeah, our opponent is probably on a Sultai Sphinx's Tutelage, which makes this Cub pretty valuable, since it can destroy the Sphinx's Tutelage. So perhaps a reason to keep it in hand, but it can attack and block on the board. There's the Tutelage, alright. Opponent not fearing the Felidar Cub that's in play. So perhaps has a second copy or a way to get it back from the graveyard. Alright, there's our 3rd land finally. So let's attack for 2. But Fleshbag is not a great play here, since it only gets rid of the elf. And Radiant Flames, we can't cast it for 1. So I think we actually have to pass the turn here. And hope to find some more lands. So we could let some tutelages happen here. Let's see. We could use a cub in response here to prevent us from getting milled for 4 at least. Sure. So now our Radiant Flames is a lot better. Alright, offshoot, great. So now we get to Radiant Flames for 3. And get rid of all that nonsense. We could wait even more, but I don't think our opponent runs a ton of creatures. So let's get a value while we can. And hope to find more lands here, because we do have another answer to a tutelage in Angelic Edict, but of course can't cast it. And Jace is fine since we can answer it with the Fleshbag, plus a Read the Bones. So our opponent is probably gonna find a second tutelage soon, so really need to find lands here. Right, Skyline Cascade. Alright, that's good. Let's play the Fleshbag. Play a land and pass. Also don't have a double black yet, so can't play Ob Nixilis. Yeah, that's annoying. So now our opponent will draw 2 cards if we play a land, which we pretty much have to here. And the sad part is this comes into play tapped, since we don't have any swamps or plains. But I think we still go for it. And pass. These got exiled. So our opponent probably now has found a second tutelage, I'm guessing. So if they play tutelage and leave up counterspell mana, do we Angelic Edict or not? We probably cast Ob Nixilis then to deal with the Sire of Stagnation. Could also Cruel Revival. Right, Possessed Scab is gonna get back probably the Jace or the part of Watervale. It's gonna get back Jace. Alright. So now playing Ob Nixilis is not great, since if we kill the Sire, then the Scab can kill the Ob Nixilis. So I think just using the Cruel Revival is gonna be better. So let's make sure to kill it before playing our land. Play a land and pass. So our opponent can play the Jace. And then we could try and kill the Jace, but then our opponent... Let's see, I don't want to use the Edict because we probably need that against the tutelage. So probably gonna need to use Ob Nixilis to kill the Jace, but then we lose Ob Nixilis, which I guess isn't the end of the world. Talent of the Telepath. Alright, let's spin the wheel. Did not find anything, great. But we did get milled for a bunch. And I mean, I would not mind if our opponent casts Radiant Flames, but I don't think that even works with the Converge. So our opponent is holding up counterspell mana. We haven't seen any counters yet, but it is reasonable to assume our opponent does have counterspells. What happens if we let Jace flip? Then our opponent gets to flashback the talent, gets to flashback part of Watervale, so that's not really what we want. So yeah, I think we kind of have to get rid of the Jace here. So let's try and cast Ob Nixilis. That worked. Kill Jace. And pass. If we had a Twin Bolt here, we could have killed the Scab, but unfortunately we don't. The Gate Creeper also doing a good job of making our flashbag a little worse. So Ob Nixilis down. And another vial, which is fine. Alright. Talent of the Telepath, number 2. And still nothing. They could crew revival their own creature, but I don't think they have any zombies in the graveyard. So that wouldn't work. They do decide to cast it on the Gate Creeper. So, alright, don't really get that. But I guess now our flashback is a bit better. Alright, so we are down to 26 cards. Opponent still doesn't have a Sphinx's Tutelage going. So, let's see, we could play the Emeria Shepherd, but I like playing her more when you have a land to follow up right away. So it's between Kothophed and Pia. Kothophed is a little risky because her opponent does have stuff like Vial, which they can sacrifice. So we could actually lose a lot of life and also risk to mill ourselves out pretty quickly. So I actually like playing the Pia Kiran more here. And we could also flashback here. But I think keeping up an activation is better. Should our opponent use removal. Another Gate Creeper Vine. Probably means they're not gonna cast a Sweeper here. And do they attack? They do. Alright, I guess I'll block and kill it. Oh, I meant to... Whoops. I meant to use Pia Kiran's activation there to kill the Scab. Instead I activated the Shambling Vent. That's embarrassing. So now we lose Shambling Vent 2. Yeah, that's definitely pretty awkward. Alright, let's play Kothophed. And hope he doesn't kill us. I guess we can still kill him ourselves with Reprisal. Well, on the bright side, her opponent did kill their own possessed Scab. But we lost a land and some other stuff we didn't have to lose. Aligned Heater Network is fine. So could activate the Shambling Vent, hit our opponent for 2, but if our opponent has removal at instant speed, then we lose yet another land. So I think we just pass a turn here. And hope to find some more lands for these 2 shepherds. Nothing from the opponent. So we could play a shepherd now, but with no lands, I still don't like running them out. Opponent isn't doing anything, so it's not like we're under pressure. Elvish Visionary is fine. Another Visionary. We still haven't seen any counter spells from our opponent, so maybe they just don't have any. Alright, land is nice, so we get to play the Shepherd. Does it get countered? It does not. Play a land, and I think it's between Pia Kiran and the Griffin here. Could also get the Pilgrim's Eye actually, which is nice with the... Yeah, let's get Pilgrim's Eye. Means that we for sure get another land next turn, And we can also get a plains, so whatever we get back comes into play. So, does our opponent finally find a tutelage? Nope, it's gonna be a Languish. Alright. That's fine. Pia and Kiran, so we could Pia and Kiran plus play Pilgrim's Eye, grab a plains for the Shepherd for next turn, so we can play the Shepherd, get back the Shepherd. Could also play Pia and Kiran, leave up an activation, but our opponent already played to a Languish, so unless they're also playing the Miasma, I think it's fine to not have an activation up. So let's play Pilgrim's Eye, get a plains. Should still have a couple left. Nope, apparently we don't. They all got milled. That's unfortunate. Yep, they all got milled. Well, let's pass a turn anyways. And not sure what our opponent is holding. Perhaps they have cards like Hydrolash in hand, or I guess Fog as well. Ooh, Evolving Wilds is nice. Let's start by attacking, see what happens. Make our opponent cast Hydrolash or Fog, or they can just take 5. So we can play the Shepherd, play Evolving Wilds, get back Shepherd, and we don't actually have to use the Evolving Wilds yet. We can wait until we play our other Shepherd. We have one basic land in the deck left, I think. Reclamation Sage can kill an artifact, which is fine. Still nothing. So we only get punished if we draw our basic here. We don't. Alright, nice. Let's see. Lots of cards we can get back. And I don't think we need to worry about another sweeper, so yeah, let's go for it. Play another Shepherd. Play a land. Get back all the things. Definitely want a Cub as well. And now I don't mind grabbing our final basic to get the Ob Nixilis and to get the Fleshbag. Alright, we're probably gonna have to discard end of turn here, which is fine. Let's hit with everyone. Maybe the Fleshbag should have been the Griffin, just to gain 2 more life. And I think we can discard the Eye, since we don't have any basics left to get. I was looking forward to having some fun with the Shepherds, but our opponent milled all our basics. Alright, there's a tutelage, so our opponent could get crazy with card draw here. Instead they just use the activation once, which is fine. Discards a Fog. Alright, does indeed draw 2. Could have played the Cub to prevent this from happening, but our opponent could still have responded with all the activations and instants, so wouldn't have mattered much. Let's attack with everyone. Opponent probably uses the vials here. Hit for 2. And I think we use a Cub to destroy the tutelage, since Angelic Edict has other applications. play Pia and Kiran. I don't think I want to draw cards with Ob Nixilis. Well, actually, I feel pretty stupid now. Could have just played Pia and Kiran without playing the Cub, sacrifice the 2 Thopters and kill their opponent. But I guess we'll give them one more turn. Epiphany is fine. If they can play a tutelage and draw a bunch of cards this turn, we could be dead. So that could have also been a reason to use the Edict and play the Cub, to have the Cub in play. And there's a tutelage. Can our opponent mill us out here? Read the Bones is gonna mill us for at least 4. And it's gonna be exactly 4. Nope, it's gonna be 4 plus 2, 6. But no blue cards left. If they have an Elvish Visionary, perhaps. Nope, let's use Pia and Kiran. I guess we could have done that after opponent casts Read the Bones. Fog is not gonna prevent that damage. Alright, so we got there. A bit messy there near the end. Could have played a bit better. But despite a mulligan down to 5, I believe, we still managed to get there. Our opponent certainly helped us out a bit. But yeah, I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this gameplay. And as always, have a nice day.